Hi everybody and welcome to another exciting edition of Boring JavaScript. I'm your host, the Virtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and today we're taking a look at the factory pattern. So what is the factory pattern? Well, the factory pattern is a way to be able to obfuscate away the creation of objects. What does that mean? Basically, that means that if you were responsible for creating this object or that object or that object, you wouldn't worry about creating all those individual objects. You would have the factory worry about creating all those objects. All you have to worry about is telling the factory what object to create. And it saves a great deal of time and effort in your application. Let's see an example. Let's say you had three objects: a cat object, a dog object, and a horse object. And you were responsible for creating all three of these objects. Now, all that's well and good. That's very easy to do. But what if all three of these objects had different ways of being created? And in fact, what if within your application you had to create all three of these objects in 1,000 different places? Well, maybe not 1,000, maybe 100 different places. And if somebody went in there and changed how, let's say, the dog was created, then you would have to go through all those different places to be able to change how you instantiated that dog object. The factory pattern helps solve that problem. What the factory pattern will do is that you will then call the factory and tell the factory, hey, I need a cat, or factory, hey, I need a dog, or factory, hey, I need a horse. The factory will be then responsible for creating the cat, the dog, or the horse and returning that object to you. So all you ever have to worry about is talking to the factory. And the great advantage to that is that even if you had to create 1,000 different cats or 1,000 different dogs or 1,000 different horses, each one in their own different way, you don't ever have to worry about that. The factory worries about that, and if there's ever a change in how those animals are created or those objects are created, the factory is all that gets changed. Your program doesn't care. All your program cares about is, I'll need a cat, I need a dog, I need a horse, and that's it. So anything changes on the construction of that cat, that dog, or that horse, you couldn't care less. The factory changes itself and everything still works in your application. And that's the beauty of the factory implementation. And it's called the factory implementation just for that particular reason. You go to that factory and tell it what you want and you get it back, you get that object back out. You do not have to worry about how that object is constructed. So you want to see how that works in JavaScript? Let's get started. So let's start with our three different objects. We have our cat object, our dog object, and our horse object. Now, all three of them have the same properties: name, age, height, and weight, but each one of them constructs their objects differently. For example, cat has one argument, and it splits that argument up into its 4 individual components before they get assigned to the properties. Dog has 4 different arguments that then gets assigned to the properties. And horse doesn't have anything. You basically have to set each one individually. Yeah, whoever did this one, I have absolutely no idea, but doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is we have 3 different objects here, each one constructed differently. So if I was to sit there and use those 3 particular objects, I would basically import them, construct my cat, construct my dog, construct my horse, basically following the rules that have been set out for those 3 particular objects. So this should come out to me. My cat is named, what did I call it? Fluffy. My dog is named Fido. And my horse is named Mr. Ed. Let's flip back over to Node. Let's run Node old zoo. And yep, sure enough, it worked. Okay, so there's nothing really, there's nothing earth-shattering about what I just did there. But here's the problem. So we're just constructing 1 cat, 1 dog, 1 horse. What if you had 100 cats, 100 dogs, 1,000 horses, all spread out through your application? And then somebody came along and said, okay, the horse, now we're going to be passing arguments as the constructor within the horse. Well, then your entire application starts bombing out on you, because for some reason now you're going to have to go through your entire application, find every instance of horse, and make the changes so that the horse now matches the new requirements for the construction of the horse. So you can see what kind of pain that would cause. But that is where the factory pattern comes into. So as I explained earlier, the factory pattern is that you make a single request to the factory and say, factory, give me a cat, or factory, give me a dog, or factory, give me a horse. And it will be responsible for the construction of that cat, dog, or horse, and to give that data back to you. So let's take a look at what a factory pattern would look like. I got one called Animal Clearinghouse here. It again, imports cat, dog, and horse. And it is also, this is, well, here's the class itself. The big thing here is an add animal method. Now this could be new animal, this could be called create animal, whatever you want to call it. I called it add animal in this particular case. And I'm passing it basically two arguments, type and args. The type is going to be the type of animal I want, whether it's going to be a cat, a dog, or a horse. And then the arguments are going to be the name, age, height, and weight. Because if you notice, cat takes name, age, height, and weight. Dog takes name, age, height, and weight. Horse takes name, age, height, and weight. They're just all constructed differently. But so the clearinghouse, what I will do is when I call add animal, I'm going to pass it the type, and I'm going to pass it the args. I'm going to get the args here. Then if it's the case of cat, I'm going to declare my new instance to be a new cat. If it's a dog, I'm going to declare my instance for the dog. And if it's a horse, I'm going to declare my instance for the horse. Notice I'm using the exact same constructors I used in my original program here, where I'm passing cat as one argument, dog as 4 arguments, and horse I'm doing 5 different directions. I'm doing the exact same thing here, and then I'm returning the instance. So I'm returning an instance of the cat, I'm returning the instance of the dog, I'm returning an instance of the horse. And that's it. So basically now this animal clearinghouse is the factory for all of these animals. If I had more animals, let's say a penguin or an eagle or something like that, I would just import them into here, and within the add animal, I would do either one massive switch statement or have some other mechanism for being able to create the instance correctly, whatever that happens to be. So what would my new zoo look like? Well, let's flip over to the new code, and now this is all it really is. I've got the new animal clearinghouse, and I just call add animal for each animal I want to add in, whether it's a cat, a dog, or a horse, and then I pass the arguments. And notice here, I don't care whether, how this horse is constructed. I don't care how the dog is constructed. I don't care how the cat is constructed. All I care about is I want to add an animal with this name, with this age, with this height, and this weight. The factory then will take all of that, and it will be responsible for how everything is constructed for that particular object. And then it returns to me the instance. So the huge advantage here is that I couldn't care less now if somebody came in a little bit later on and completely changed how the horse is constructed. My add animal is going to work the thousands of times that it's all over my application. All I have to do is go into my factory and tell the factory, oh, by the way, we don't do it this way, we now do it another way. That's it. So all I really care about is when something else changes, when either the cat, the dog, or the horse changes, I just have to change the factory. And everything else within my zoo will work. Whether I have one instance like you see here, or 1,000 instances spread out over 100 different pages within my massive new zoo application. And that's the beauty of the factory pattern, is that now all I have to do is call the factory to get myself a new animal and let the factory figure out how to construct it. So I couldn't care less on how it's constructed. I just want that animal. So how will this run? Well, let's flip back over to Node, and let's just type in Node, new zoo. I should get the exact same thing. Yep, I certainly do. So that's the beauty of the factory. In a nutshell, that's what the factory pattern is all about. And there's always a couple of different variations of things like that, but that's the general idea. And that's pretty much all there is with the factory pattern. Again, just to recap here, the factory pattern's entire purpose in life is to be able to obfuscate the construction of different objects so that you, in your application, don't have to worry about that ever again. You just pass it parameters, and it will give you back what you want. And that's all there is to the factory pattern. I hope you enjoyed our video. Hope I didn't bore you to death. Please make sure you click on the like button below and subscribe to this channel for more boring JavaScript videos. Also, you can go to www.boringjavascript.com to see everything that we have ever published. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you later.